On paper, Benoit Saint Denis should win this fight, but that's also where many breakdowns stop. They identify the favorite, they explain why he's the favorite, and they move on. The problem is that fights aren't decided by who looks better on paper, they're decided by how styles interact. And when you start examining the actual dynamics of this matchup, you begin to understand why picking Saint Denis may not be as straightforward as it first appears. Let's see what the Fighter Index says. Before we get into the scoring, we need to first understand each fighter's blueprint. This segment answers a simple question: who is this fighter when the cage door closes? We'll break down their archetype, signature weapons, strengths, and weaknesses to understand how they're built and what makes them dangerous. Paddy Pimblett is an A-tier scramble specialist built around creating offense during transitions, positional changes, and chaotic grappling exchanges. He thrives in situations where fights become unpredictable and positions are constantly changing. What makes Pimblett dangerous is his ability to recognize opportunities in the middle of scrambles and quickly turn them into submissions, reversals, or dominant positions. Rather than relying on traditional control-heavy grappling, he often succeeds by creating movement, forcing reactions, and capitalizing on mistakes as opponents attempt to navigate the chaos. Benoit Saint Denis is an A-tier attrition specialist built around relentless pressure, punishing pace, and breaking opponents over time. He constantly pushes forward, forcing opponents to defend strikes, wrestling exchanges, and grappling threats without ever giving them a chance to settle into the fight. What makes Saint Denis especially dangerous is his willingness to weaponize exhaustion. He thrives in demanding fights, forcing opponents to work at a pace that becomes increasingly difficult to sustain. As the fight progresses, his pressure, aggression, and physicality begin to wear opponents down, creating opportunities for damage, dominant positions, and eventually finishes. His ability to impose attrition across multiple phases of MMA make him one of the most exhausting lightweights in the division to fight. Every fighter has an operating system. It's the underlying strategy that connects all their skills together and dictates the type of fight they're trying to create. For Paddy Pimblett, success comes from finding opportunities before his opponents realize they're available. Everything Paddy Pimblett does serves that objective. His striking creates openings, his grappling creates situations, his scrambling creates chaos, and every position change creates another opportunity to attack. Pimblett isn't just trying to control opponents over the course of a fight, he's looking for moments, a failed takedown, a rushed transition, a positional mistake. When his operating system is functioning properly, opponents feel like they're one mistake away from disaster. Positions that appear safe suddenly become dangerous, and small openings quickly turn into submission threats. The more opportunities a fight creates, the more dangerous Paddy Pimblett becomes. For Benoit Saint Denis, everything starts with pressure. Force opponents to work at a pace they can't comfortably maintain. Everything Saint Denis serves this purpose. His striking closes distance, his wrestling creates work, his grappling forces reactions, and every exchange demands energy from his opponent. Saint Denis isn't trying to win isolated moments, he's trying to make opponents fight continuously. When his operating system is functioning properly, opponents are constantly defending, constantly reacting, and constantly making decisions. Over time, that workload begins creating mistakes, openings, and opportunities for finishes. The longer opponents are forced to fight Saint Denis' fight, the more dangerous Benoit Saint Denis becomes. Every operating system is powered by a set of weapons. These are the tools a fighter relies on most when they're at their best. The better these weapons function, the easier it becomes for them to create the type of fight they want. Paddy Pimblett's best weapon is the rear naked choke. Once he secures back control, he becomes one of the most dangerous submission threats in the lightweight division. He does an excellent job of maintaining position, forcing opponents to defend, and capitalizing on even the smallest opening to secure the finish. His second best weapon is the triangle choke. Pimblett's comfortable attacking submissions from a variety of positions, and the triangle is one of the clearest examples of his ability to create offense from seemingly neutral or disadvantageous situations. It allows him to remain dangerous even when opponents believe they are in control. His third best weapon is his ability to take the back. Pimblett has a strong understanding of positional grappling and frequently works his way behind opponents during scrambles and transitions. Many of his best submission opportunities begin with his ability to identify openings, secure back control, and immediately transition into offense. Benoit Saint Denis' best weapon is the rear naked choke. Many of his most dangerous grappling sequences eventually lead to back control, where he excels at maintaining pressure and capitalizing on submission opportunities. Once he secures the position, he becomes one of the most dangerous finishers in the lightweight division. His second best weapon is the straight left hand. Saint Denis uses it to pressure opponents, disrupt their rhythm, and create openings for the rest of his offense. Whether he's closing distance or forcing exchanges, the straight left is often the strike that starts the sequence. His third best weapon is the left body kick. Saint Denis uses it to wear opponents down, discourage movement, and accumulate damage over time. As opponents begin reacting to his boxing pressure, the body kick often becomes an effective way to attack at a different level and further increase the pace he wants to create. Paddy Pimblett's biggest strength is his submission grappling. Few lightweights are as opportunistic once the fight hits the mat. Whether he's attacking from top position, hunting submissions during transitions, or capitalizing on mistakes, Pimblett is constantly looking for opportunities to turn grappling exchanges into fight-ending moments. What makes Pimblett especially dangerous is how effective he is during scrambles and transitional positions. Many fighters perform their best when the positions are stable and predictable. Pimblett thrives when positions are quickly changing. His instincts, creativity, and willingness to attack allow him to find opportunities that other fighters often miss. His ability to capitalize on mistakes is another defining strength. Pimblett has built much of his career around recognizing openings the moment they appear and immediately turning them into offense. Whether the mistake happens on the feet, during a takedown, or in a grappling exchange, he's repeatedly shown the ability to punish opponents before they can recover. Paddy Pimblett's biggest weakness is his striking defense. While his stand-up game has improved throughout his UFC career, opponents have still been able to land clean shots against him, particularly in extended exchanges. Against high-level competition, those defensive openings can become costly. He can also struggle against opponents who maintain strong positional discipline. Much of Pimblett's offense is built around creating opportunities during transitions and chaotic exchanges. Fighters who remain patient, fundamentally sound, and difficult to scramble with can limit many of the situations where he does his best work. Another challenge is dealing with opponents who consistently pressure him onto the back foot. Pimblett's most dangerous when he's creating offense and forcing reactions. Fighters who can pressure him, control positions, and repeatedly make him defend can reduce the number of opportunities he has to implement his own game. Benoît Saint Denis' biggest strength is his pressure. Few lightweights are as relentless about forcing opponents to work from the opening bell. He constantly moves forward, closes distance, and presents new problems through striking, wrestling, and grappling. Opponents rarely get comfortable because Saint Denis is always demanding reactions. What makes Saint Denis especially dangerous is his ability to blend multiple phases of MMA together. He doesn't rely solely on striking or wrestling. Instead, he uses each threat to support the others, forcing opponents to constantly divide their attention between punches, takedowns, clinch exchanges, and grappling transitions. That layered offense makes him difficult to prepare for and even harder to manage over the course of a fight. His pace and finishing instincts are another major strength. Saint Denis is willing to maintain a demanding work rate while aggressively pursuing opportunities to end fights. Whether the opening comes through accumulated damage, ground and pound, or a submission, he does an excellent job recognizing when opponents are beginning to break and immediately pushing for the finish. Benoît Saint Denis' biggest weakness is that his aggressive style can create defensive openings. Because he's constantly pushing forward and looking to generate offense, technically sound opponents can sometimes find opportunities to land clean counters before he fully establishes his pressure. His forward-moving approach can also make him vulnerable to precision strikers who manage distance effectively. Fighters who remain composed, punish entries, and consistently force him to pay a price for advancing can disrupt the rhythm that much of his offense depends on. Another challenge is that his style requires a tremendous amount of work to function at its best. Saint Denis is most effective when he's dictating the pace, creating pressure, and forcing opponents into his game. Fighters who successfully slow the fight down, deny his momentum, or force him into a more measured contest can reduce many of the advantages that normally make him so effective. Now that we understand each fighter's blueprint, it's time to quantify it. The skill matrix answers one question: how do these fighters compare skill for skill? We'll score all 16 Fighter Index skills across 4 pillars to identify where the biggest advantages and vulnerabilities exist in the matchup. Fighter Index scores are measured on a scale from 1 to 10, where 5 represents a functional UFC level skill, 7 creates real advantages, and 10 represents a rare or generational ability. Pillar 1, Fight IQ and Athletic Tools. This matchup represents an interesting balance between decision-making, physical tools, endurance, and toughness. Both fighters possess qualities that have helped them succeed against high-level competition, but they arrive there through very different approaches. Saint Denis relies on pressure, pace, and layered offense, while Pimblett leans more heavily on athleticism, opportunism, and his ability to capitalize on mistakes. Starting with Fight IQ, Benoit Saint Denis holds a slight edge, scoring an 8 compared to Paddy Pimblett's 7. Saint Denis has shown a strong ability to consistently implement his game plan, blend multiple phases together, and make opponents deal with a constant stream of decisions. Pimblett's a smart fighter in his own right, particularly in grappling situations, but Saint Denis' ability to build entire fights around pressure and phase changes gives him the advantage. In athleticism, Pimblett answers back with an 8 compared to Saint Denis' 7. Paddy possesses a good size for the division, strong movement skills, and the explosiveness needed to capitalize on transitions and scrambles. Saint Denis is a capable athlete, but his success is generally driven more by pace and persistence than by superior physical tools. Stamina swings back towards Saint Denis, who scores an 8 compared to Paddy Pimblett's 7. This category is a major part of Saint Denis' identity as a fighter. His willingness to maintain pressure and continue forcing exchanges deep into fights allows him to wear opponents down over time. Pimblett has solid cardio himself, but Saint Denis has consistently built his game around sustaining and maintaining workload. In resolve, both of these fighters are even at 9. Both men have repeatedly shown toughness, composure, and a willingness to fight through adversity. Whether it's Pimblett remaining dangerous in difficult positions, or Saint Denis continuing to push forward through exhausting battles, both fighters have demonstrated the kind of resilience that separates good fighters from elite competitors. Because Saint Denis holds advantages in both fight IQ and stamina, while Pimblett only holds the edge in athleticism and they're both even in resolve, Pillar 1 slightly favors Benoît Saint Denis. Pillar 2, striking and stand-up defense. This matchup becomes less about who can land offense and more about who can do it safely. Both fighters have developed into capable strikers, but they approach stand-up fighting very differently. Pimblett often uses strikes to create opportunities for his grappling, while Saint Denis uses striking as part of a pressure-heavy system designed to keep opponents working and reacting. Starting with striking, both fighters are even at 8. Pimblett has made significant improvements on the feet throughout his UFC career, showing better shot selection, improved confidence, and a growing ability to compete in prolonged striking exchanges. Saint Denis reaches the same score through volume, pressure, and the ability to blend striking seamlessly into the rest of his offensive game. Both fighters are effective, but they generate success in very different ways. In the clinch, Saint Denis holds a slight advantage, scoring a 7 compared to Pimblett's 6. This is an important category because it serves as a bridge between striking and grappling. Saint Denis is very effective at using clinch exchanges to maintain pressure, create wrestling opportunities, and force opponents to constantly defend. Pimblett is functional in these positions, but they're not as central to his overall game. The biggest separation in this pillar comes to striking defense, where Saint Denis scores a 7 compared to Pimblett's 4. While Saint Denis can be hit due to his aggressive style, he generally does a better job managing distance, maintaining defensive responsibility, and avoiding unnecessary damage. Pimblett has shown clear improvements defensively, but opponents have still been able to find clean opportunities against him, particularly in extended exchanges on the feet. In chin, the fighters are even at 6. Both men have shown durability throughout their careers, but neither has consistently demonstrated the kind of proven durability that would push them in the upper tiers of the category. Pimblett's performance against Justin Gaethje suggests the score may be trending upward, but additional performances will be needed before a change is warranted. For now, the fighters remain even in this category. Because the fighters are both even in striking and chin, while Saint Denis holds advantages in the clinch and particularly in striking defense, Pillar 2 favors Benoît Saint Denis. Pillar 3, grappling and control. The matchup shifts towards the areas where both fighters are most dangerous. While Pimblett and Saint Denis have developed into capable strikers, grappling remains the major part of each fighter's identity. The difference is they arrive at success through different methods. Pimblett thrives in submissions, transitions, and capitalizing on mistakes, while Saint Denis uses pressure, wrestling, and control to steadily force opponents into bad positions. Starting with wrestling, Saint Denis holds a significant advantage, scoring an 8 compared to Pimblett's 6. Wrestling is one of the foundations of Saint Denis' game, allowing him to dictate where fights take place and constantly pressure opponents with phase changes. Pimblett is functional defensively and capable of competing in grappling exchanges, but wrestling is not the primary tool he uses to create offense. The gap grows even larger in takedown offense, where Saint Denis scores an 8 compared to Pimblett's 4. This category is particularly important because it determines who's more likely to initiate grappling exchanges on their own terms. Saint Denis aggressively pursues takedowns and routinely uses them to reinforce his pressure-heavy style. Pimblett, by contrast, is far more likely to find grappling opportunities through scrambles, mistakes, or positional changes than through dedicated takedown attacks. In top control, Saint Denis again holds a major edge, scoring an 8 compared to Pimblett's 4. Once Saint Denis secures top position, he is extremely effective at maintaining pressure, landing damage, and forcing opponents to continually defend. Pimblett is much more focused on advancing towards submissions than maintaining long periods of positional control, which explains the gap between the two fighters. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the closest category in the pillar, but still favors Saint Denis, who scores a 9 compared to Pimblett's 8. This is a reflection of how dangerous both men are on the ground. Pimblett's submission game is one of the best parts of his entire skill set, but Saint Denis combines submission ability with positional control, top pressure, and broader overall grappling game. Both are highly dangerous, but Saint Denis earns a slight edge. Because Saint Denis holds significant advantages in wrestling, takedown offense, and top control, while also maintaining a slight edge in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Pillar 3 strongly favors Benoît Saint Denis. Pillar 4, defense, scrambles, and ground survival. The matchup becomes far more competitive than Pillar 3. While Saint Denis holds clear advantages in offensive grappling and control, Pimblett's ability to survive difficult positions, create opportunities from underneath, and thrive in transitional exchanges helps close much of the gap. This pillar focuses less on who can secure positions and more on who can defend, recover, and create opportunities when things don't go according to plan. Starting with takedown defense, Saint Denis holds the edge, scoring a 7 compared to Pimblett's 5. This category is particularly important because Saint Denis is the fighter more likely to initiate wrestling exchanges. His defensive wrestling has steadily improved and he's shown a greater ability to deny opponents clean takedown opportunities. Pimblett's takedown defense remains one of the more vulnerable areas of his game, often forcing him to rely on his grappling skills after the fight has already reached the mat. In BJJ defense, Saint Denis maintains a slight edge, scoring an 8 compared to Pimblett's 7. Both fighters are highly capable grapplers and difficult submission targets, but Saint Denis' combination of positional awareness, defensive responsibility, and overall grappling completeness gives him a small edge. Against fighters with strong submission games, he's generally done a good job avoiding the mistakes that lead to dangerous situations. Off the back is where Pimblett creates separation, scoring an 8 compared to Saint Denis' 7. This is one of the strongest areas of his entire game. Pimblett is extremely comfortable attacking, advancing position, and creating opportunities from underneath. Many fighters become defensive when placed on their backs, but Pimblett remains dangerous throughout the exchange and is capable of turning disadvantageous positions into offensive opportunities. In Scrambles, the fighters are even at 8. This category perfectly reflects one of the most intriguing aspects of this matchup. Both men are highly effective when positions are changing quickly, and both possess the instincts and awareness needed to capitalize on transitional opportunities. Whether the fight hits the mat through a takedown, a reversal, or a failed submission attempt, neither fighter is likely to remain passive through those moments. Because Saint Denis holds advantages in takedown defense, BJJ defense, while Pimblett holds the edge and off the back, and the fighters are even in scrambles, Pillar 4 slightly favors Benoît Saint Denis. After evaluating all 16 skills across the 4 pillars, we can now calculate the Fighter Index Composite Scores. The composite score answers one question: who is the more complete fighter overall? It's important to remember that this isn't a prediction model. A higher score doesn't guarantee victory, it simply measures overall completeness across every phase of MMA. Paddy Pimblett receives a Fighter Index Composite Score of 6.6. Pimblett's score reflects a fighter whose greatest strengths are concentrated in specific areas. His submission grappling, scrambling ability, and opportunistic offense make him extremely dangerous, but several defensive and control-based areas of his game score lower than the division's most complete fighters. His success is often driven by his ability to capitalize on opportunities rather than consistently dictate every phase of the fight. Benoît Saint Denis receives a Fighter Index Composite Score of 7.7. Saint Denis' score reflects one of the most complete skill sets in the lightweight division. He scored highly across all 4 pillars and demonstrated strengths in pressure, wrestling, grappling control, stamina, and defensive reliability. His ability to consistently influence where fights take place and how they unfold makes him one of the more complete fighters in the division. On paper, the Fighter Index sees Benoît Saint Denis as the more complete fighter. The next question is whether those advantages translate into victory, or whether Pimblett's ability to create fight-changing moments can overcome the gap in overall completeness. Now that we've broken down the fighters individually and examined how their styles interact, we can focus on one of the most important questions: how does each fighter win? This segment identifies the conditions, strategies, and moments each fighter needs to create to give themselves the best chance of victory. Paddy Pimblett's path to victory is built around preventing Benoît Saint Denis from turning the fight into a sustained pressure and control battle. Saint Denis holds clear advantages in wrestling, takedown offense, top control, striking defense, and overall pace management, which means Pimblett can't afford to spend long stretches of simply reacting to Saint Denis' game. Instead, he needs to create the type of dynamic exchanges where his opportunistic grappling become most dangerous. On the feet, Pimblett's first priority is surviving the entries and pressure without taking excessive damage. Saint Denis is likely to push forward early, forcing exchanges and looking for opportunities to blend striking into wrestling. Pimblett doesn't necessarily need to win every striking exchange, but he does need to avoid giving Saint Denis easy access to prolonged offensive sequences. Every clean defensive sequence gives him another opportunity to steer the fight towards his preferred phases. The grappling battle is where Pimblett can create his best opportunities, but not in the same way Saint Denis does. Saint Denis wants control, top position, and sustained pressure. Pimblett wants transitions, scrambles, and moments where positions begin changing quickly. His advantages in off-the-back work, scrambling ability, and searching for submissions become most valuable when exchanges become fluid rather than controlled. Even if Saint Denis secures takedowns, Pimblett needs to immediately create movement, force reactions, and make every transition dangerous. Pimblett also needs to trust his ability to capitalize on mistakes. Throughout his career, some of his best moments have come when opponents become overly aggressive, overcommit to positions, or make poor decisions through grappling exchanges. Saint Denis is an excellent grappler, but his pressure-heavy style naturally creates more opportunities for extended exchanges and reactions. Pimblett's job is to recognize those moments and punish them immediately. For Pimblett, this fight is about surviving the pressure, creating dynamic grappling exchanges, and turning Saint Denis' aggression into opportunities. The more the fight becomes a battle of transitions and submission threats, the more likely Pimblett is to find the opening he's looking for. Benoît Saint Denis' path to victory is built around doing what he does best, forcing Paddy Pimblett to fight at a pace and in positions that gradually favor pressure, control, and accumulation. While Pimblett is extremely dangerous in transitions and submission exchanges, Saint Denis holds clear advantages in fight IQ, stamina, wrestling, takedown offense, top control, and several defensive grappling categories. His goal should be to make those advantages show up as often as possible throughout the fight. On the feet, Saint Denis needs to use his pressure intelligently rather than recklessly. Both fighters are capable strikers, but Saint Denis holds a significant advantage in striking defense. By consistently pushing Pimblett backward, forcing defensive reactions, and making him work to find opportunities, Saint Denis can begin building momentum before the grappling exchanges even start. The objective isn't necessarily to win the fight with striking alone, it's to create the entries that lead to those strongest phases. The wrestling layer is where Saint Denis can create the biggest separation. His advantages in wrestling, takedown offense, and top control give him the ability to dictate where grappling happens and how it unfolds. More importantly, he needs to focus on maintaining stable positions rather than allowing the fight to become a series of scrambles. The longer he can keep positions controlled, the less opportunity Pimblett has to utilize his submission game and scrambling ability. Saint Denis also needs to remain disciplined once the fight hits the mat. Pimblett is not to be taken lightly and is one of the most dangerous submission threats in the division and is particularly effective at creating offense from positions where many fighters would simply defend. Every transition carries risk, which means Saint Denis should prioritize positional control, measured advancement, and forcing Pimblett to carry his weight rather than chasing unnecessary openings. For Saint Denis, this fight is about pressure, control, and forcing Pimblett to spend more time defending than attacking. If he can maintain stable positions, repeatedly mix striking and wrestling together, and deny the scrambles that fuel Pimblett's best offense, his advantages become increasingly difficult to overcome. We've examined the archetypes, operating systems, strengths, weaknesses, and the skill matrix. Now it's time to answer the biggest question of all: who wins this fight? There's an old saying in combat sports: styles make fights. That's why the Fighter Index verdict isn't simply based on the composite score. The composite score tells us who's the more complete overall. The verdict looks at the matchup itself, weighing the styles, paths to victory, and intangibles that could influence the outcome once the cage door closes. After all those factors, the conclusion I've come to is that Benoît Saint Denis wins this fight. The Fighter Index clearly favors Benoît Saint Denis because he wins all four pillars, holds advantages in striking defense, wrestling, takedown offense, top control, stamina, and overall completeness, and enters this matchup with more ways to dictate where the fight takes place and how it unfolds. But Paddy Pimblett's still a dangerous fighter. His submission game, scrambling ability, and opportunistic grappling make him a threat against anyone in the division. If the fight becomes chaotic, positions begin changing rapidly, or Saint Denis makes a mistake during a grappling exchange, Pimblett has the skills to capitalize immediately and change the direction of the fight. The problem is, I don't believe Pimblett will consistently be able to create those opportunities. Saint Denis is the better striker, the better wrestler, and more complete fighter overall. More importantly, he has the tools to force the fight into areas where he's strongest rather than allowing Pimblett to dictate the terms of engagement. I also have concerns about Pimblett's defensive habits on the feet. His striking has improved throughout his UFC career, but he still tends to leave openings during exchanges, leaves his chin high, and Saint Denis is exactly the kind of pressure fighter who can capitalize on those moments. If Saint Denis is consistently able to pressure forward, land clean shots, and blend his striking into wrestling, Pimblett may spend too much of the fight reacting instead of creating offense. When I compare both paths to victory, Saint Denis' path is simply wider and more reliable. He can win through pressure, striking, wrestling, control, or accumulation. Pimblett's path depends much more heavily on creating specific opportunities and capitalizing on mistakes, and I believe Saint Denis is disciplined enough to limit those opportunities over the course of the fight. And that is the full Fighter Index breakdown for Paddy Pimblett versus Benoît Saint Denis. The Fighter Index is designed to evolve as fighters evolve, and the community discussion plays an important role in that process. If there's a skill score, an operating system, a best weapon, a path to victory, or even a verdict itself that you see differently, let me know in the comments and explain what you see differently. Do you agree that Saint Denis' pressure, wrestling, and overall completeness give him the edge in this matchup, or do you think Pimblett's submission game and ability to capitalize on mistakes are being overlooked? Let me know in the comments and defend your position. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more Fighter Index analysis. Catch you on the next one.